Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Full Circle. Lexie, check in. How are you doing?
Hey, girl. You know, I'm doing good. I am doing good. We're still blessed. We are still happy to be living out the dream, But, y'all people's been going on in Seattle, so we can get into that later. But personally and health-wise, I feel amazing. I feel great. So yeah, how are you? Mariah was late today, guys, because she blamed it on the long weekend. So what was you doing?
Bro,
Running the streets?
I just realized that 4-day work weeks, I used to think that was the best idea ever. Not for a dilly-dally girl like me. It doesn't give me enough time to slack off and lackadaisically do my tasks. I feel like there's been so much to do today, all day. But
meanwhile, I was in the gym at games and practices. I didn't even realize it was Memorial Day until the day was over and I was looking at stuff and everything was closed. And I was like, why is everything closed today? I need stuff.
Oh, it's so annoying because especially when you get a Monday off, you're like, oh my gosh, I have so much I can do. I can go to the car wash. I can.
You can't do nothing on Memorial Day.
Nothing. And the weather wasn't even nice in Atlanta. Oh, just terrible.
Yeah, what was it, yesterday? Yeah, we traveled. So my Memorial Day weekend was very uneventful. Got 2 wins though, which is good.
Yeah, we're going to get into that because, okay, so based off of this week, Minnesota, the Liberty, Phoenix, and Seattle are looking locked in. Meanwhile, there are a few teams that are still figuring it out early in the season. We're also going to get into the fact that Caitlin Clark is out for at least 2 weeks. And we're going to talk about how this media frenzy going on, people aren't keeping it cute, for sure. So today we're going to get into who's rising, who's struggling, and who's just plain getting weird. Lexie, who were some of the teams that stuck out to you this week?
You hit it right on the head. Minnesota, the Liberty, us, the Storm, and Phoenix. And, I have my handy dandy iPad here, I wrote, some numbers because like we said, people are not keeping it cute. I want to keep things cute. And what's cuter? The cutest thing to talk about basketball? Numbers. Because you know what? They don't lie. Okay? They're unbiased. They're just there. Okay, so I looked up some numbers. So we can go 1 through 4 for these teams. We can start with Minnie. And yeah, let's break down Minnesota a little bit, Mariah.
First off, just to give you guys an overview if you missed some things, Minnesota is still undefeated. Napheesa Collier is that girl, okay? She's averaging 29.5 points per game, and they're doing this without Kayla McBride. Courtney Williams and Alana Smith are quietly contributing with double-figure scoring. So overall, it just seems like they're a threat everywhere.
Absolutely, and we're gonna keep this consistent with the numbers like we did in the preseason overview because it seems that a lot of the things that we said in those previous episodes, if you guys want to look back and check, are kind of aligning and planning out. There's a few surprises, but no one is really proven us oh, we were way off. So we're going to start with Minnesota, averaging 87 points per game, which makes them 3rd. Their effective field goal percentage, which is 2s and 3s combined, if you guys forgot, is 53%, which is 2nd in the league. Their defensive rating is 6 currently, and their offensive rating is 2nd at 109.1. And to put that into comparison, they finished last season with an offensive rating of 102.8. So they are scoring that ball. They are doing it efficiently, effectively. Fee currently the favorite for the MVP, as she should be. Came in a very close 2nd place last season. So we actually play the Lynx. By the time this episode drops, our game will have come and gone. So I'm not going to tell y'all our scouting report because I'm not going to give away the sauce. But we're prepared for them. And we both play very similar outside of, 3-point shooting, I think. So it's going to be a battle. We both have very elite 4 players, versatile bigs, and a lot of movement in the half court. So I'm really excited for this game. I've been getting a front row seat to all the action. So I really know what's going on. But this Minnesota Lynx team is dangerous, like we said they would be. And when you see teams with high expectations start off strong, that's always a good sign for the league. You always want like the top teams that start at the top at the beginning of the season to start off strong. It's good for the league. It's good for news. It's good for narratives. It's good for all the things. So Minnesota Lynx have been looking real good.
For sure. Since you guys are playing them this week, we're going to get into some key matchups this week or your predictions or what you might be thinking. But I do want to talk about you guys since, those are the teams going up against each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Seattle Storm are looking good. You guys took a huge leap in all power rankings. Nneka and Skylar are looking timeless. Let's give Nneka her flowers for a second because she passed Candace Parker on the all-time scoring list. She is now 9th. Lexie, can I get a little reaction to that?
Period, Nneka. I mean, it's crazy because even when we were in LA together, it seemed like every game she had a new career milestone. And she's definitely one of the most underrated WNBA greats, I think, because I think her role in the Players Association and being the president is so prevalent in her life. And that's like what people think when they think of Nneka is Madam President, which is absolutely amazing because she's so good at it. I think her basketball accolades and skill gets overlooked all the time. Like, she's a Hall of Famer, 100%. She was an MVP. Like, these are things that I think get lost a lot. And she's so humble and graceful in the way she moves about her life, the way she approaches the game. I think it's easy to forget about players like that. So yeah, we'll give our flowers early today in the show to Nneka. I'm so excited to be a part of this journey with her again, second time around. And yeah, she told me at the beginning of the season that like she really locked into her body and getting in shape and being able to move because she was tired of getting called old. And she don't look very old out there to me, like not at all.
Not at all. And Seattle's on a 3-game win streak. Ever since that first game, it has been locked in ever since. Including
what first game?
Oh, right. I was about to remind you, but that didn't count. Working out the kinks early.
Didn't count.
But what does count for sure is that 20-point blowout of Vegas. Lexie, What happened?
As y'all know, there's some energy, amongst some players on the Storm and some players on the Aces. We don't got to get into it. If you know, you know. And that's how it felt in the game. Like, it was just like, I'm over here now. I'm cool. And then we were like, oh, well, we over here with our squad. We cool. We good. And the home energy was amazing. I think our home fans are so much fun and they're so excited and they're loud. I think that game, we were just clicking on all cylinders. We executed our game plan and, focused on us. We know that Vegas has a lot of new pieces and they're still trying to figure it out. So as exciting as that win was, we kept it very, kept things in perspective. It's early in the season. We're going to see them again very, very soon in Vegas, I think. So they're a different team at home.
Yeah.
But, I think everything that could have went well in that game went well, except for that I missed an open layup. Not too much on me. I got fouled a little bit. I rewatched it. The ball spun crazy in the air. It didn't even look like a layup attempt. I was like, what? But again, I had been sitting for a while and my first attempt being a full court sprint after a steal. I was like, move legs, move. But it was a fun atmosphere. It was really exciting to get that win. It was really important for us to execute that game plan going into this game against Minnesota. Some numbers for the Storm are averaging 79 points per game, which is 7th. Our effective field goal percentage is 50%, which is 4th. Our defensive rating, 95, which is 4th. And our offensive rating, 99, is 7th. If y'all don't know what defensive and offensive rating is, offensive rating is how many points you score per 100 possessions, and defensive rating is how many points you allow per 100 possessions. So anything under 100 is good, and then anything over 100 is decent. It depends on how far over 100 you are. You don't want to give up more points than possessions, but you want to score more points per possessions, okay? So that's where that net rating comes from. I will say that we are last in 3-point attempts. So as a shooter, that is not the ideal situation, but for a team that is still figuring out roles and new faces. And, I don't blame them. They finished dead last year in 3-point percentage. So I understand, okay, let's not try and shoot more threes and make more. Let's try and do what we're really good at, and that's scoring in the paint. But for me personally, that's not an ideal offensive situation. But again, once we get into some of the other teams that we're going to talk about and their 3-point attempts, at some point, I think my services will be needed and utilized. So all I can do is stay ready for that and fulfill my current role, which is energy, which is staying locked in on the bench, and come in and just be ready. And that's, the life of a role player, the life of someone on the bench. It's crazy that this time last year I was starting in this league. So, life comes at you fast, but you got to stay prepared and stay ready and be a professional. And I think this team can really go far and potentially win a championship. So I'm here to do whatever I can to help the team win. But obviously, 17 3-point attempts a game, that's not my game. So it is what it is right now, but we're winning and I'm happy and vibes are good and we're playing defense. So that's also important at the end of the day, especially for a team that's figuring out their identity. I think our identity currently is being a team that will defend. So shout out to the Storm.
Yeah.
Game day. So yeah, it'll be a battle tonight against the Lynx for sure.
Basketball is 100% a team sport. And Lexie, you just spoke on it, but you being a starter at this point last year and playing a bunch of different roles throughout your career, could you speak to people who might not know as well to the importance of different role players at different points and different times? You look at the numbers and the analysis for everything basketball related, but it's important to know, people might be paying attention to someone like Fee, but as we mentioned, all of those other players and pieces on their team contributing when need be is so important. So I think a lot of people who are new fans of the W who might be tuning in for 2 or 3 players or for this person or that person, or they might be going to visit and see their team in their city and they're focused on a couple of players. I don't think people quite realize how important it is to be playing the right people every single night and to have, like you said, your services are going to be needed against certain other teams. Could you speak a little bit just to those different pieces in the W and how they play a part outside of just the star players?
Yeah. I think that's always something that role players struggle with is being ready when your number's called, when you quite literally have no idea when your number is going to be called. That to me is a harder game day to have than someone that is going to go out and absolutely play 25, 30 minutes. You know when you're going to come in, you know what mistakes you can and cannot make. You have a longer leash, and that's just like a more fun and free way to play basketball. But unfortunately, not everybody has that. And that's okay. Again, it's a team sport. Everybody can't have that freedom. But the ones that, embrace their role and thrive in it are part of those teams that win championships and are ready when their number is called. Like I was the energy bench player on the Chicago Sky when we won a championship. If you have someone on your bench that's pouty, that's, just mad all the time. And trust me, I'm not happy to be on the bench. I want to make that very clear, guys.
Of course
nobody
not.
is ever happy to not play. But you are in complete control of how you handle that moving forward. If you are on the bench and you're sitting next to the people on the bench like, man, I can't believe this, da-da-da-da-da, you're cultivating a poor energy and a poor environment. And we didn't have that in Chicago. Yes, there was frustration. Yes, there was, I wish I was playing conversations. But at the end of the day, it's a team. And we all get rings. And we all get put on that championship parade. We all get to hold the trophy. Like, at the end of the day, that's what it's about. So right now, that's where I'm at. And for me, I've always valued role players, even when I was young. Like, I actually was a role player when I was younger, when I first started playing. Like, I didn't really step into that, like, skill or, being considered one of the top players until I was, like, later in high school. So even at Maryland, my freshman year, I wasn't starting when I first got there. I had to earn my place, on a new team full of seniors. I'm a freshman. Like, I know what that's like. So it's important, but we have 10 people and anything can happen, God willing, we stay healthy the entire season and we can continue to grow as a team. But again, things happen. So staying ready is key, and that's what I'm doing. And I want everybody to know that like basketball is a sport. It's a game. It doesn't consume my entire life. So before you fix your fingers to type something weird to me when I'm doing something that's not basketball related, just think about that. And yeah, we can move on to the Liberty on that note.
Let's do it. Thank you for that, Lexie.
Of course.
The Liberty are still looking elite. They blew out Chicago, which we'll get into a little bit later, and held off Indy. Tosh has been a great addition, as we mentioned last week, and has been excelling on both ends of the floor. And they've got 4 games coming up this week, including 2 against the Valkyries.
It's a tough week.
Mm-hmm.
That Fever Liberty game was amazing. If y'all watched it, like that was a great basketball game. Like ultimate chess match. I really enjoyed it. Shout out to the Liberty, leading the league in points per game at 94, leading the league in field goal percentage or effective field goal percentage at 57.5, first in offensive rating at 112, 5th in defensive rating at 96. Also, to put that in context, last year they finished at 107 as their offensive rating. So they're not playing better defense according to the numbers, but they have added a defensive player in Natasha Cloud, and now their offense looks even better with a elite point guard that is also Natasha Cloud. So this is a very dangerous squad, putting up 27 threes a game. And they just look really locked in. Like, Tosh looks like she's been on that team for years. And that's like such a hard thing to do, especially at that position, the point guard, head of the snake, leader of the team. She knows everybody's spots. She knows how to get people the ball. And she just doesn't back down from a defensive assignment. Like, that's like your dream player right there is Natasha. And I'm so happy that she's finally getting all this attention and flowers for what she brings to teams, because she's been doing this for years. So now she's in a city like New York, and like we said, they needed a little attitude to match that New York energy, and they brought Natasha in, and you can see it. Like, it's all the energy on that team has elevated. Like, it's very obvious. So like, they're really fun to watch.
For sure. And yeah, it's a little bit of a side note. I posted a TikTok about this, and Lexie, you commented, but I just want to say, I am so obsessed with the WNBA this season, like more than ever before, but I have just been having so much fun. The games have been so good. The energy has been so good. And when you're at the games, it is something different. And I mention that now because going to the Liberty game and seeing that vibe, like even seeing them on the bench, the way she's interacting with everybody and the way that she's become, it's hard to step into a new situation, especially when they just won a championship and decide like, I'm going to be a leader here. Because, you know, they already have rapport, they already have their leaders, and it worked. But to step in and be like, oh, no. Like, I have a voice here too, and I'm taking over on both ends is insane. And the energy from those fans, crazy. Everybody talking about the Knicks fans because they're in the playoffs right now. But Liberty fans do not play either.
Yeah, I went to their finals games 2 years, the year that they ended up losing. And I had a ball. And I was like, I don't even want to be cheering for either one of these teams right now, but I will, because I'm having so much fun. I'm just a spectator today. I'm a fan. I'm not an opponent. Like, I really enjoyed myself. So they also have a really good like fan experience, like team, and like they got it together over there in New York. I'm not gonna lie.
For sure.
Shout out to the Liberty, man, because they look really good. They're going for that back-to-back. And yeah, I think that I'm excited to play them. I mean, I'm excited to play all the teams. And I feel like this season has started with a lot of teams playing each other multiple times, probably travel, whatever. But that's one of the teams that I'm really looking forward to playing against, because they just bring the energy. And I think we're one of the teams that can absolutely match it. So I can't wait for that game. Speaking of playing teams over and over again, let's get into Phoenix. We have already played them twice this season.
So you could speak to it better than anybody else. Obviously, their leaders are leading. They've got a fun rookie surprise going on. They found their identity after lots of turnover coming into this season. They're hosting Chicago and Minnesota this week. Lexie, get into the numbers and how can you explain this? Because not a lot of people had Phoenix on their radar going into the season.
Yeah, I will say, remember when we talked about Phoenix, I said while they figure out their identity offensively, they gonna tap into that defense, and that's exactly what they're doing. They are first in the league in defensive rating at 89.3. Last year, 105. So they've really locked into that defensive side of the ball. 10th in points per game at 77, 6th in effective field goal at 49.8%, and 9th in offensive rating at 97.2. So their offensive rating isn't horrible, but they're making up for it on the defensive end while they figure it out. They're also missing Collier Copper, who her timetable, I haven't seen it, but they're managing surprisingly well without her. So I'm really excited to see what they look like when she comes back. But yeah, all their role players, I mean, I think they did a great job of assembling that squad. Satu looks like she's been working on her outside shooting. She looks really good. AT, which I'll talk about later, I think absolutely will be in the conversation for MVP, her or Satu, if Phoenix continues on this trajectory. And yeah, they whooped our ass game 1 and we got our get back. But they're a tough team. They're going to be a problem for a lot of people, especially the way they defend the ball, especially with AT leading the way. She'll run anybody over. She doesn't care who's in front of her. And that's like her relentlessness that everybody loves, and everyone loves having her as a teammate. I know I did at Maryland. So yeah, Phoenix looks really good. I'm not surprised though, because Satu and AT are definitely considered one of the top players in the league. So I think that they're gelling pretty nicely, considering that they don't have the third piece of their big 3.
Yeah, they're looking really great, but unfortunately, we have to get into some teams that are figuring it out. And this is going to be really fun to hear what Lexie has to say numbers-wise about this, because it's easy to be like, you're not winning. But the why is what's really important.
The why.
Yeah.
Yes.
I want to start actually with the Chicago Sky, just because this has been such a hot button topic. But it's looking like their offense hasn't been that great. I'm sure you have numbers to back that up. Angel Reese is leading the league in rebounds again. But they play Dallas twice this week, which will be interesting to see, because finally one of these two teams will get a win. And we'll get to see.
That's fun.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll get to see, how that plays out.
Way to see the positive side, Mariah. I love that. I love that. Getting into Chicago. For a team that hasn't seen much success this season so far, they are the topic of a lot of conversation. And the conversations that are going on, I don't really like, because people are just exerting their opinions based on personnel. Like, there's so much more than the players on your team. Also, keep in mind that out of all these teams that we're about to talk about, these teams have the most turnover in their personnel. So these teams are the teams that have a lot of new coaches, a lot of new players, or both. So Chicago is one of those teams that has new coaching staff and a whole new team. And for a player like me, that has been my reality every season of my career, that is not an easy thing to be a part of, okay? I've only been a part of first years of extreme turnover. And then the next year, it's another extreme turnover. So I think this team needs to get a little bit more grace because of the newness and the youth on this team. Like, this team is still very young. Numbers, averaging 70 points per game, which is 12th. Effective field goal percentage is 42%. I didn't write down what place that is. Their offensive rating, 84, which is 13th. And their defensive rating, 114, which is also 13th. So I think that a lot of people are hyper-focusing on their offense, which, again, so many new pieces up to that team. And they're trying to figure out who goes where, who needs the ball the most, who's going to be, option one. 1A, 1B, if it's A, B, like it can vary team to team. Like there's a lot of teams in this league that have 1A, 1B. There are very few teams in this league that just have one and then everybody else. So them finding that out is going to take some time. But what doesn't take time is defense. It takes a little bit of time because different coaches have different philosophies. But at the end of the day, defense is about your energy. And that's even something that I've been, harped on being with the Storm, is that they need more from me defensively. So I know I'm hearing it every day. I know how important it is. And it's something that you can absolutely control, whether you play 30 seconds or 30 minutes. You can control your effort on the defensive end. So people are so focused on their offense. Their defense is very bad numbers-wise. They're the last in defensive rating. So I think if they're going to turn a corner, the offense will come. I'm not concerned that they're going to look like this the entire season. It's been 3 games. But they can definitely lock in on the defensive side of the ball. And I think that would definitely make a huge difference in how their games are going.
I have a question for you, Lexie. Going into the season, this sounds a lot like the conversation we had about Phoenix, in the sense that starting with defense and that defensive effort and gelling defensively led to more of an offensive effort. You know what I mean? And I feel like with Chicago, with Phoenix, back to Phoenix for a second, AT being that leader defensively is a big part of that, right? For Chicago, do you feel like it's a problem with the effort of the personnel that they currently have? Or is this something that could be addressed and this is very early to be saying this, but in some sort of trade or acquisition of a defensive, maybe a vet, or somebody who is just like a Rottweiler on defense, maybe like a Tosh, Or are they capable of that with the personnel that they have?
I mean, they have defensive players on that team. Like I said, they're all getting used to playing with each other. And playing defense, everybody's like on a string. Everybody has to be on one accord. So if you got 2 people locked into the defensive assignment and then the other 3 are in La La Land, it's not going to work. It doesn't matter how good your Rottweilers are on your team. Like everybody has to rise to that occasion because one player can't guard 5. Effort, I don't always like to harp on people's effort because you have no idea what is going on in those locker rooms and those practices and those games. But I think it's just them figuring out how to play with one another. Like you have an elite point guard in Courtney Vandersloot, who's going to be a Hall of Famer. You have Ariel Atkins, who's a champion, an Olympian. You have Rachel Banham, who's been around championship teams, has been an excellent role player on every team that she's been on, can provide leadership. So they have the pieces. They just got to figure out where they go. And I always have been saying that the thing with putting teams together is teams are not like a jigsaw puzzle where one piece, like you just need like this one specific piece to make this puzzle work. I would say that building teams is like a Rubik's Cube, You can get to like how it's finished, but there's not one specific way to get to that finished part of the Rubik's Cube. You feel me? So I don't think like the Sky are like a player away from changing the whole season. I think they're just figuring it out. So again, it's been 3 games. Hopefully they can get a win. I mean, we're going to talk about Dallas. Hopefully they can get a win. And like I said last week, like that first win, like once you get it, like it's a huge weight off your shoulder. So I think whether Dallas gets their first win or Chicago gets their first win, you're going to see a shift in energy from whoever gets that first win for sure, because that's how we felt when we played Dallas and we had only lost 1 game. So I don't want everybody to like overreact and stop being so mean to the players because damn, the season just started.
We got something to say about that a little bit later, but let's get into these winless teams because I don't want to be sad or negative anymore. So we're going to talk about Connecticut. We're going to talk about Dallas. I'm going to start with Dallas. Paige Bueckers on Paige Bueckers Day in Paige Bueckers, her town. She had a double-double in her return to Minnesota. But we can't deny the fact that this team is struggling and still trying to build chemistry. Lexie, what are the numbers saying?
Yeah. So they're averaging 78 points per game, which is 9th, 44% effective field goal percentage, 10th. Their defensive rating, 106, which is 12th, and their offensive rating, 96, which is 10th. So they're in the bottom third of every category you can be in. Again, do not hit the panic button on this team. Again, this team has a whole new roster and a whole new coaching staff. And I know this was my coaching staff in LA. So I know what they got going on over there. And it can take some time. But again, not hitting the panic button, I think they can focus on how well Paige has been acclimating to the WNBA. I think she looks very poised. I know she's been getting a lot of criticism for not being selfish enough, but that's part of Paige's game that everybody loves, and why she was the number one pick is because she plays basketball the right way. She likes to get her teammates involved. She's not going to take crazy shots. She's not going to do anything ill-advised. So that's something that I think Dallas needs to embrace and figure out how to utilize that part of her personality and aspect of her game more, instead of forcing her to be something that she's not. Yes, could she be more aggressive? Sure, but she's a rookie. So what do you guys really want her to do? So yeah, I know she's the number one pick.
And Minnesota ain't no easy team.
Exactly. And she held her own against Minnesota and us. Playing Minnesota twice and us, that's a very tough stretch to start your rookie season. And I think that she's played excellent through it all. But again, like you said, building chemistry, a lot of new players, a lot of previously role players coming into these starting roles and different responsibilities and expectation. That takes some time to get used to. But again, defense, you can control that. Being 12th in defensive rating, like, that's not good. And I know that they're not purposely trying to not defend, but these teams are very good. These players are very talented. It's very hard to get stops in this league. So again, not hitting the panic button for the Wings. Did I expect them to start the season 0-4? No, but then after looking at their schedule, I'm not that shocked that this is how they started. They played against two teams that essentially kept their entire core together from the previous season. So this start isn't super shocking, but you can stay positive with the way Paige has been playing.
The Atlanta Dream in their first game in their home arena, coming off of their home opener, which wasn't even in their arena, which was in State Farm Arena. I was there against the Fever after beating the Fever by 1 point right before. Mm-hmm. So it's like the Dream are going into this game like, we got to get a win.
Real hype.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And you said it's hard to beat a team in their home opener. And not that this was their technical home opener, but it was their first game in their arena. And so I feel like they had a hard stretch. This was not no easy stretch of games.
This was not an easy stretch.
If I had to guess right now and put a little prediction on it, I got the Wings getting their first win against the Sky. Sorry to the Sky.
Okay. Where are they playing? Where is the game?
Good question. Let's find that out.
If it's in Dallas, I will 100% agree with you. If it's in Chicago, I will 70% agree with you.
It is in Chicago.
Okay.
That changes things a little bit.
I guess we're going to see. It changed just a little bit, though. Not that much.
Yeah, exactly.
Shout out to the Wings. Shout out to the Sky. Growing pains, they happen early in the season. It's a long season. So last team trying to get their first win. The Sun. What we got going on with the Sun, Mariah?
The Sun are winless and don't seem able to score. And I don't mean that to be mean, okay? I'm not one of these.
There's proof.
I'm not one of these people covering the W just saying stuff because I saw some tweets, okay? They have the lowest points per game and near worst 3-point percentage in the league. But Lexie, I'm sure you have a little bit more for us. I just want to mention they have had some close losses. But something is off.
Something is off. I just think like they have like a lot of interesting things that went on leading up to the seasons, even when it came to like some of the players that they chose to waive. And yes, I'm very biased in that opinion because Diamond DeShields, that one of our previous guests, who was very excited to have a fresh start in Connecticut, was one of those players that was waived. So, I got beef with Connecticut because of that, because that's my girl. But I know that basketball is business at the end of the day, but that's still something that is hard to see your friend go through. But like Mariah said, 68 points per game, which is 13th, 41% effective field goal, defensive rating 11th at 105, and their offensive rating 86 at 12th. again, this is a team, lots of new faces, new coach, the team trying to sell the team. Like, there's just a lot going on in Connecticut, which, looking forward, if we're going to be positive, selling the team could end up being a very good thing for this franchise. But when you're in the middle of a season and you're dealing with that, and people might be asking you how you feel about the team getting sold and why can't y'all win and all this stuff, like, it's like piling. But again, just like Chicago, you can control what goes on defensively. So, you have this one of the best scorers in the history of the WNBA on your team, and you have probably one of the top isolation shooting / scorers in Marina Mabry. So I think that their offense will get there. Again, it's just about meshing with new players and figuring it out. Their rookie, Rivers, has been a really bright spot for them as well. And sending prayers to her. She just lost her mother. So for her to come back and be able to play at a high level after that happened,
wow,
is amazing. So sending love and prayers to her for that.
100%.
But yeah, I mean, again, this team, you might be able to hit the panic button a little bit because they have a lot of like veteran players. Maybe not veteran WNBA players, but they have like a lot of veteran overseas players. And yeah, I mean, I think if they let these losses keep piling up, it's going to be a hard hole to dig themselves out of. But,
well, speaking of letting the losses pile up, I want to get into their future, what they have to look forward to, because they will be playing the Indiana Fever on Friday without Caitlin Clark. So let's talk about the Fever just for a second. The Fever are 2-2. Caitlin Clark will be out for 2 weeks with a quad strain, at least 2 weeks. And is this going to be time for Kelsey Mitchell or Dwana Bonner to step up? I'm interested to see what this team looks like without Caitlin Clark for the first time. I want to know from you, Lexie, numbers-wise, how does this team look? And could a little bit of time, especially this early in the season, without Caitlin, help the Fever long-term, getting all of those other players a little bit more involved?
I'm very interested to see who they start. Are they going to be point guard by committee and bring Sophie Cunningham off the bench, or bring DB back into the starting lineup? Or are they going to stay traditional and have Sydney Colson run the one for that team and keep the starting lineup the same? So very interested to see what lineup they go with moving forward.
What would you do?
What would I do?
Yeah.
I'm putting DB back in the lineup, and I'll have Kelsey Mitchell or Lexie Hull bring the ball up. Whoever has the lesser on-ball defender is going to initiate the offense, I think. And then this might be a great opportunity to get DB comfortable in this new situation, because she's kind of started off a little bit rough this season. And I think it's just because she's on a new team. She was playing in a very comfortable system that was very suitable to her style of play for a lot of years. And to have a change like that is difficult. And it doesn't matter if you're top 5 scorer in WNBA history. Adjustments to a new team and a new city and a new situation is freaking hard. And we're seeing it happen with DB right now. Again, nothing to be worried about, because she's also a Hall of Famer, and I think she's going to be just fine. But I think this is the perfect opportunity for them to start implementing her skill set into their offense. And I think she can complement Aaliyah Boston and Kelsey Mitchell really well with her versatility. That's a big lineup of Lexie Hull, Natasha Howard, DB, Aaliyah Boston. Like, that's a massive lineup. So I think it'll be fun to watch and see if they can make that happen. But to get into some of their numbers, 88 points per game, which is second, 51% effective field goal, which is third. Defensive rating is third at 93, and their offensive rating is third at 105. So they're top 5 in almost every category statistically, and it shows. Again, 2-2, that's what they are.
Yes.
I don't think that's a great picture of how good this team is, but again, lots of new pieces. So yeah, I think this is a great growth moment for this team that has put so much I don't want to say pressure, but a lot of the responsibility has fallen on Caitlin Clark's shoulders the last season and coming into this season. So I think this is a great time for the rest of the team to step into their roles because they've all been playing really well. So I don't think that this team is going to skip a beat. And no one's going to make up for her three-point shooting and her logo threes or anything like that. So it's going to look a little different. But I think that they can absolutely win without her. And I think that's going to be a good thing for them moving forward because when you're winning and then you insert a superstar like Caitlin Clark back into the mix, like that's probably one of your ideal situations. So it'll be interesting. I'm just excited to see what lineup they roll out. So
agreed. This team is going to be fun to watch regardless, but it is a blow to lose Caitlin because I love her game. So me and Lexie both are hoping that Caitlin gets well very, very soon because it's more fun when she is available for all of us.
Exactly.
So get well soon. Speedy recovery to Caitlin. Okay, next, and this is the last team we're going to do a deep dive into before y'all comment. Everybody's going to get talked to about at every point during the season, but we're trying to keep the episodes a little short for y'all. Okay? Yeah. So if you have a team you really want us to get into, if you're watching us on YouTube or whatever, make sure you comment and let us know. Otherwise, we're not going to know. Okay.
Yeah.
The Las Vegas Aces. Y'all blew them out. Okay? But outside of just that, it has seemed, at least for a spectator, like a little bit of inconsistent play. Jewel is shooting just 31% on the season. And I'm curious, based on the numbers or based on what you have seen, is this a real slump or just a little bit of early season weirdness?
I want to say early season weirdness. Again, this is in the group of teams with a lot of personnel changes. Some of their numbers, 6th in points per game, 9th in effective field goal percentage, 10th in defensive rating, and 6th in offensive rating. So not great numbers-wise for a team that we're used to being top of the top of every statistical category for the past few seasons. What I think that fans sometimes don't understand, like when trades happen, is like you're not like replacing, again, jigsaw puzzle. It's not a jigsaw puzzle. Like what Kelsey Plum did for that Vegas team is not going to be the same thing that Jewell Loyd is going to bring to this Vegas team. And I think anybody who is thinking that needs to get that out of their head, or you're going to be disappointed because Jewell Loyd is not Kelsey Plum. Okay? So with that being said, you bring in a scorer like Jewell on a team like this that has been running like a well-oiled machine for years, it's going to take some time to adjust. I think that the Seattle game was kind of a one-off because it did look like they were like trying to feed Jewell probably a little bit extra because it was her first game back in Seattle. At least from where I was sitting, that's what it looked like. She started the game off amazing. I think she had 9 points in the first quarter. So I thought she was like going to go for 40. I was like, oh no, we got to stop her. But she cooled down, and then they didn't adjust to her being cooled down. And we capitalized off that. I think that something that was also underrated about Plum is even though she's not a point guard, she can slide to the one if necessary. And then that's when Chelsea Gray would get loose. That's when, Jackie could get a little bit more loose, even though Jackie had a decent game against us as well. And she's shooting the ball extremely well from 3. And they don't have that right now. They don't have someone that can give Chelsea a break from running the offense because Chelsea is an elite scorer, as we've seen her entire career. How we definitely saw her on Unrivaled, how she was getting busy in that league. I know fans probably were expecting more of that in this, but this is not that. It's a completely different style of play. It's a different game. The spacing is different. So many things are different. But I think they're going to figure it out. Becky Hammon, one of the best coaches in the league, and she's only been in probably league history, and she's only been a coach for a few years, and she's already stamped. Again, no need to hit the panic button. And I'm interested to see what changes and adjustments they make when we see them again very soon, because that's what the season's about, is making adjustments and playing chess. And then Asia's doing Asia things. She had kind of an off game against us, and I'm going to credit Nneka and Ezzy for playing excellent defense because she is not an easy person to stop or frustrate or anything like that. So I think that we locked into our game plan extremely well. And Nneka and Ezzy did an excellent job on her, but that doesn't happen often, with her. So again, no need to hit the panic button. A lot of new faces. I think they're also trying to figure out their rotations. They played like their whole team. I know it was a blowout, but they had a lot of their bench in early, which that's something that Vegas isn't known for doing, is going to their bench early. So even seeing that change is different for us. So they're going to be fine. Again, I think they're going to make the playoffs. I think Jewel's going to start shooting the ball better once they figure out their offensive flow. So yeah, I think they'll be fine.
Being able to get A'ja Wilson off her step even a little bit is a huge win for y'all and a good sign about where the Storm are going.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you guys might not know this, but me and Lexie, obviously, we be texting throughout the week, seeing the stuff y'all be saying, what's going on in the world. And 9 times out of 10, we just keep it within us, within iMessage. But as responsible people covering this game who want to keep things very, very positive, and we have made our vow to do that, and we will continue to do that, I do want to take a minute just to say, what are we doing? Just because Lexie alluded to it a little bit earlier in the show. But I wanted to talk about a very irresponsible article that was written, I won't get into detail, but by a big sports platform, by somebody who probably went to journalism school for 4 years and is doing this now. But they wrote an entire article about Angel Reese, and I will say it was her specifically because that adds an important layer to the conversation. But they used fan tweets as sources for the entire article. Lexie, I am gagged.
Well, I sent it to Mariah because I didn't even search. I don't even know what I was searching. It was nothing related to this article. I think it was maybe stats for a game. I don't know what I was searching. It wasn't Angel Reese and it wasn't the Chicago Sky. I can tell you that for a fact. But this is one of the first articles that showed up on my Google search. And I click it because it looked like a TMZ headline, first of all. Read through it. No official sources have validated this entire think piece, but we gonna throw some fan tweets. What? I texted Mariah, I said, is this allowed? Just because you say no official sources has been cited, can you still write an article that you just pulled out of your ass and found mean tweets to support your bullshit? I don't understand that. Especially with so many amazing things going on in the WNBA right now amongst all 13 teams, that this is what we are still doing a whole year later after we saw what the season was like and how lazy the coverage was. I do not see an ounce of improvement of the overall coverage from big platforms. Like we said last week, there are a lot of smaller creators that are responsibly covering the WNBA, and we appreciate y'all, and y'all are doing great, and keep doing what you're doing. When we have these conversations, we're talking about the big dogs. We're talking about these platforms that are supposed to do things responsibly, have sources, not people that go on Twitter and pull mean things just to get clicks on your article. And I'm just baffled, just like you were when I saw that. Because at the end of the day, we are people. These are human beings. And you can't just say random things. These are people that are part of teams, part of organizations. Everybody's on the internet. You can't ignore everything. I'm sorry. I know you guys are just log off, just log off. No. The world is online. Okay? So yes, you can log off, but you're not going to be able to skip over everything. So it was just really disappointing to see that. From a publication as large as that was super disappointing to see. As
a basketball fan who is seeing not just that, but that was a really stark example, but a lot of examples this week of just irresponsible coverage. I want to say that number one, we're using that very specific example so that you guys aren't just saying, it's, oh my gosh, it's rage. It's people just saying people are being mean, but there's not actually anything to point to it. It's not about being mean and it's not about feelings. It's about being responsible, because that kind of rhetoric is dangerous. It's dangerous to the players themselves. It's dangerous to the league, and it doesn't help anyone. As me and Lexie have stated, using the numbers throughout this episode, the Chicago Sky are in a rebuilding sort of time. They have so much turnover, a new staff. They're trying to figure out new personnel, a new system, everything. And to keep this team continuously so high up, you weren't even researching them in the news, and not for things that have to do with that. I think that conversations that have to do with that are more than valid, what they can do better offensively and defensively. But conversations that are TMZ headlines about the team that are harmful, that are using fan tweets from people who specifically hate players, just to continue the narrative of why people should hate this player or shouldn't like them, or why this team is bad, that have no basis, and actually why the team isn't performing. I'm not even going to say underperforming, because this is exactly what we said was going to happen before the season started. But it doesn't allow the team space to grow and get better. It doesn't allow for the WNBA to push stories that are positive and the actual best teams and players and storylines going on in the league. It's just overall harmful. So we just wanted to mention that, just so that you guys know, when you're looking up things about the WNBA or reading about the league or basketball in general, not just the W, any sport, make sure you are paying attention to what these sources, even the big dogs, even the ones you're watching on TV every day and have millions of dollars and have real trained journalists working for them. Make sure you're like, this headline says that this girl on this team hates this girl, but all the sources are fan tweets. That's probably not an article you should be listening to. Go find a source that's a lot more reliable than that. That's all I'm going to say.
Exactly. Just read these articles, people, because the headline was insane. And usually sometimes the headline is insane and then the article is not that insane. They just needed the headline to get you to the article. No, the article was even more insane than the headline. And I was like, how do you can you report articles? I was like, I can't believe what I'm reading right now from this platform. Oh my gosh, y'all can hear in my voice. I was so irritated, because I was like, this is exactly what we've been talking about since we started this podcast. And the fact that there's been absolutely no improvement at all. And now it's just getting worse and worse and worse. I'm very interested to see what coverage happens in this league now that Kayla Clark is injured.
Yeah.
Now, can y'all cover the league like you're supposed to instead of being weird? When she's playing, absolutely, she's getting all of the headlines because she's playing at an insane level. She's one of the best players in the league. Absolutely, you talk about her. But there's other players playing at a high level as well that y'all refuse to talk about. And even at the high level that she's playing, people are still putting her in these very weird, unfair, non-basketball related conversations. And I thought we were going to be past that this season, but clearly we're not. So maybe this will be a good time for y'all to get your lives together and tighten up, because it's not cute. And we asked y'all to keep it cute last week. So we're going to ask you again. Can we please keep it cute and keep about basketball? Yes, nobody cannot be criticized. Yes, y'all criticize me all you want. I have not hit a 3 all season, and I say I'm the best shooter in the league. I still believe that. But I can't shoot shots that I don't get. Can't shoot shots that I haven't taken. I can't make shots that I haven't taken. But best believe I'm in that gym every day working my ass off. So I'm still standing on that. So y'all can criticize me all y'all want. Y'all don't think I have a little voice inside my head being like, girl, why you ain't playing? We worked so hard for you to get on the court, and now the season's here, you not on the court. I'm absolutely not immune to criticism or questions or anything like that. But that's why we have this show, because everybody needs to be having spaces for criticism, critique, positivity, but never negativity. Okay?
Amen.
So that's my mini rant.
Yeah, the takeaway from me and Lexie's very heated rants today is, let's not act like fan tweets are facts. Let's stop pitting women against each other to farm clicks, okay? I'm not going to say what the network is, but the number one sports network that everybody watches and I watch every single morning as part of my morning routine. Now that Caitlin Clark is injured, which sucks for me as a basketball fan, but also very interested to see what you guys talk about for your one woman sports segment a day, other than just that one player. And speaking of Caitlin Clark's injury, because she very much did have a place in the MVP odds, to close out for today, Lexie, because we've already been through some of the big matchups that are coming up this week. What are you seeing as far as the MVP race is concerned? Very early in the season, but I love an overreaction.
For me, it's very interesting at what my list is because there are players that are my teammates and players that after today I'll have played against, and then team players that I've already played against. Obviously, Fee, number one right now, playing at a super high level. The Lynx are undefeated. And I think that this MVP push started for her a little too late last season. So they wasted no time this season, rightfully so. So I got Fee in the conversation. I'm going to throw Nneka or Skylar in there for the Storm. When you have a 1A, 1B, these conversations get a little hard because what they both do adds so much value and brings so much to the team. How do you choose one to put in the MVP conversation? But because we're so early in the season, I'm throwing them both in there. I'm going to do the same thing for the Mercury, throwing AT and Satu in there. I think people are starting to really see how talented Satu is. She has struggled with injuries over her career, but when she's healthy, she is one of the best players in the WNBA. And I'm praying that she has a full healthy season because the way she has started has been very elite. And then AT, she was a favorite for MVP a few seasons ago. And if she can keep her numbers like they are right now and lead this team to wins in the playoffs, then she'll absolutely be in the conversation again. And then for the Liberty, it's hard to have an MVP player when the whole team is hooping. So I just put the Liberty. And I don't have a specific player because every game it's been somebody different that's gone crazy. But absolutely a player from the Liberty is going to be in contention for MVP, at least be in the conversation, because you have to include a player on the best team, which as of right now is the Liberty, I think, even though, is it the Lynx? I don't know. I'm not going to say that today because we play them tonight, so I'm not going to say that about the Lynx. So I'm going to say the Liberty are the best team right now. But when you have a team playing at a high level like that, it's hard to just pinpoint one specific player. So I'm just going to put player from the New York Liberty. But again, Stewie is always a shoo-in for an MVP conversation every season. That's how elite of a player she is. But this is going to be a fun MVP race, I think. And it's so early in the season and so much can change and so much can happen. And our season is very short. So you really got to get off to a hot start early to, get a little bit ahead of the curve. And I think that's what those players are doing. And I'm really excited to see how the rest of the season pans out for this MVP race. For sure.
My take for the MVP race is that, number one, the Liberty, just like we talked about Big Ellie being the face of the team and nobody else probably even caring about that shit. Or that is is that I think that team is so locked in on winning a championship. It's not even giving somebody is trying to make an MVP push. Obviously, Stewie is the best player, but she's been a winner her whole basketball career, and I'm not just talking about the W. And so I think for her, it's like winning is the number one thing. I think you can say the same thing so far for Nneka and Skylar, like the 1A, 1B situations. But as far as the Lynx are concerned, there's a very clear one.
Yep. Yes.
So,
that I will say, out of all the teams that don't have a 1, Minnesota absolutely is one of the teams that has a 1, a 2, a 3. There ain't no 1A, 1B over there.
So I think that this is Fee's MVP to grab, but it's early in the season.
Very early. Very early. We gave our flowers earlier, so if you guys did not peep who we gave our flowers to, we gave them to Nneka Ogwumike for top 10, passing Candace Parker for 9th, right?
9th all-time
overall
leading scorer.
Like, are we serious? Are you kidding me?
Aging backwards.
So flowers, aging freaking backwards. So shout out to Nneka. Flowers for you. Do you have anything else? Do you have any flowers to give?
No, how can I not give them to Madam President after that? Congratulations.
Yeah, you get all the flowers, okay, Nneka? Okay, y'all. we're never going to keep these episodes as short as we think we are, but basketball is fun, y'all. And if you're having fun listening, keep tuning in, spread the word, share with your friends, subscribe, comment teams you want us to tap in with more. And thank you again for tuning in to an episode of Full Circle. We will see y'all next week.
Bye, guys.